Everybody knows what tomorrow is, right? That. I try not to do it, but I did so. So we're going to change up a little bit. We're going to go on to item 4, which is the high risk pool to recognize Lancaster-Fairfield County Public Transit. You would please come forward. You can use the podium if you wish.
Thank you so much for giving me a few moments of your time to recognize Lancaster-Fairfield Public Transit. My name is Barbara Rhodes. I am the CEO of the Ohio Transit Risk Pool. We are a public entity risk pool that is owned by public transit in Ohio. We've been in existence for about 30 years. Actually, this is our 30th year anniversary. Our members, which are the public transit in Ohio, serve over half of the population of the state of Ohio. We run about 50 million transit miles a year. We insure about $1.5 billion in property values. Part of our membership is Lancaster-Fairfield Public Transit. And one of the things that we do annually is recognize really outstanding members on a Safe Operators Recognition Award. And this award is really about the cost of risk. It's all about the cost. At the end of the day, we want to have a safe operation. We want your citizens to be happy with your service and feel safe on your service, and for them to have a good footprint in your community. So for sure, Lancaster-Fairfield Public Transit achieved that in what we would call 2023. We're here at the beginning of 2024 to give these awards. We divide all of our members into 3 categories because it feels a little unfair to bench sorta against, which is Cincinnati, with 350 vehicles against Lancaster-Fairfield with 30 vehicles. So we put everybody into divisions. So just a little bit of information of who you are competing against to get this award would be Delaware area, Ashland Public Transit, Licking County, you beat them, and Allen County RTA. So with that, I want to give this award to her for having the lowest cost of risk in her division for Lancaster-Fairfield for their drivers, but also the distinction of having the lowest cost of the entire pool. So thank you to them.
Thank you, Barbara. We appreciate all of the support from OTRP, I'm sorry. Safety is our mission every day. So it starts from day one in our interview process. We make sure that we, let our applicants know how important safety is. It's our #1 concern day in, day out. It's an honor and a privilege to transport the public, and we want everyone to make sure that they feel safe.
Davis would like to say a few things, and then we'll have a photo topic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being with us today, and congratulations. As you may know, transit is in transition.
Transit is in transit.
Or yeah, I'll say okay. But your presentation made me curious if there's anything we need to do in advance of July 1st to maintain the relationship that you have. Is that something we need to be cognizant of, and there's like paperwork or something we might need to do?
Yeah, for sure. So we're putting some meetings on the book. I think there might even be one later today to meet with administration staff to discuss any implications of that transition. We actually have had transits before transition their authority from either a city to a county to a city, a county transit board to a county, a regional transit authority to a county. So this is something that we've done before. We're very excited to sort of go through with you really the understanding of how the pool really works. We provide all of the driver training for your drivers. We provide all of their driver monitoring. We actually can help with their hiring process. We do train the trainer. We do wheelchair securement training. We have a lending library. We have work groups, subgroups. We audit you every single year. I will also say that Lancaster-Fairfield has had an absolutely clean audit every single year. So they should be commended for that as well. So we're very excited to work directly with the county. From our perspective, yes, there's some paperwork, but more importantly, it's just an understanding of who we are, how we operate, and what our expectations are for you and what your expectations might be for us.
So, if I might, Mr. President, I think folks that have been discussing this transfer of governance would be aware, and I wanted you to be aware as well. Not a negative sentence in this entire conversation. There's nothing that the county is looking at in terms of the current operation and saying, well, that's wrong and that's wrong and that's wrong and we can do better. It's nothing like that. It's really more of a sense that asking a city department to provide countywide operations is unfair. And then the other part that we're thinking a lot about is we have a number of major employers who are currently partners in our workforce development center. And we think we have an opportunity to leverage those relationships in workforce and bring those same relationships to transit as part of a workforce centric, not denigrating all the other rides. But I just wanted you to know that the city and the county are really on the same page on this in terms of those concepts.
I think the county should be highly commended for having all of that thought process happening in real time. It is, a benefit to all of the citizens, regardless of geographical boundaries, if you will, because you're all one community in the end. And we are excited to be part of that. We actually have resources that we can work with economic development to actually help them build out the finances and those routes and that interaction. We have staff that works for us that is under ODOT grant. That is the purpose of them, is economic development, understanding where people need to go, helping you understand what routes would be best served for your community and for your businesses, and how you can grow your businesses by getting the right people to those places. So we're very excited to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for being here. If you can join us,
It's a process.
Yeah. 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, Teddy.
This is a traveling plaque, if you will. And so hopefully they will be able to hang it prominently and then maybe keep it a second year.
So I heard you beat out Delaware and Lincoln County, so we have our high bar to achieve. So with us, we have Nikki Drake from Fairfield County Soil and Water. He's going to do some information.
Yeah, just several things here. I'm Nikki Drake, District Manager, Engineering Technician with the Fairfield County Soil and Water Conservation District. I brought some handouts for the commissioners and just wanted to cover those. We recently, I guess about a week ago, held a workshop for woodland owners. We called it Things to Consider Before Selling Timber. We had the Division of Forestry come in and speak, and the Ohio Forestry Association. We covered topics like timber marketing, planning logging jobs, using master loggers, and where to find those. Our role was to inform the public about the best management practices that came about. Many years ago, they used to have a blue booklet. If anybody's seen it, it's about this big, called BMPs for logging or soil erosion and logging practices. They recently updated that, so that's why we held the workshop to just kind of cover, hey, this is new and great. Give some out, and it's also on their website. So the Ohio Division of Forestry has those new best management practices. So basically things that loggers can do in the landscape to prevent soil from eroding and ending up in our streams. Carrie Brown from OSU Extension also spoke. If you've ever heard her speak about the spotted lanternfly, which is an invasive bug right now that is threatening grapevines, trees, bushes, those kinds of things. We received those bugs probably from China, came over on cargo ships. Now they're making their way through the U.S. Predominantly right now they're in Pennsylvania, but we do have 11 counties in Ohio that currently have the bug. So ODA is recommending find it, kill it, report it to them so that they can monitor where it's at. Right now, we don't have any reports of it in Fairfield County. We've had some people show up and say, I think this is it, but it hasn't been so far. But Franklin County has had reportings of them, and so has Muskego closest to us. So something to watch out for. That workshop was put onto our Facebook page and our website, so it can be readily watched by the public and anybody who wants to see it. So all of those presentations have been recorded. I gave you our tree seedling packet, and I can give some information up here. We have been selling bare root tree seedlings, so they're just little babies. They're about a year or two old from the nurseries. We've been doing this since 1967. The reason we want to do this is to, promote the conservation of planting trees and woodlands. So we have teeny tiny little babies, and the tree seedling sale pickup will be April 19th. The deadline is March 15th for our orders. We partner with Licking Soil and Water. They actually have probably about a handful of soil and water conservation districts that go to them. They're the ones who arrange the orders from the nurseries in bulk. And then each soil and water that purchases trees from them goes to them, picks them up, and then disperses them through their own county. So our current order, we can either take check or cash in our office for orders, or people can go directly online to Licking Soil and Water's website, order online, pay by credit card, and indicate that you're picking them up at Fairfield Soil and Water Conservation District, and then we will have that pickup at our office. We've been doing for the last several years kind of a drive-through. So if you've ever been to the Ag Center, we have the loop in the back of the building. So we have people on that pickup day just drive to the back. We have all the trees in the conference rooms already bundled up by order, and you will yell out your name and we will hand deliver them to you. So you don't even have to get out of your car. And again, they're bare root seedlings, so they're teeny tiny. We have the babies, and then we have the saplings. So you could order the bigger ones, but we'll have people call and say, do I need to bring a trailer? No. They're, you might have a bucket full, but tree seedling sale is going on now. Our drug collection event that we partner with the sheriff's office is happening again in April. Just save the date. This year, it will be April 27th. It's always held on a Saturday, partnering with the DEA Drug Take Back, 10 to 2. We're rotating ours between Walnut Township, the Millersport Firehouse, and Violet Township's garage, their service center. And this particular one will be at Walnut Township. So we like to be in that Buckeye Lake watershed area and get those pills and drugs that aren't either used or expired out of basically water harm's way, so that we're not polluting waters, and that's our interest in it. I gave you our annual report, so all the great things, not all the great things, but many of the great things that we did in 2023 are listed on here. Again, this is on our website also, so for those of you who don't have it in front of you, all of this is on our website. Great things happening at your Fairfield Soil and Water Conservation District. And then last but not least, I did want to mention, since we are doing the tree sale, it brings up the topic of our newsletter. We've been putting out a newsletter for many years now. If you want to be on our newsletter list, we do the paper copy, and we also do an email version of that. It also goes on our website under our education tab. But we do 3 a year. So the one that is being worked on right now at the printer we'll advertise the tree sale. And then obviously other topics too. We always typically have a wildlife topic article in there. We do one before our annual banquet in September to advertise that. And then we do one after the banquet in September to basically highlight our award winners, who our elected official becomes for the next year. Our board is a 5-member board voted in by Fairfield County people who own or occupy land in Fairfield County. So we hold that election typically right around our banquet time. So we advertise that in that pre-banquet newsletter. And then those people, however many seats we have, and when they're elected, start their term in January. I have for now.
Any questions, Mr. Fix?
Yeah, I noticed in your annual report, 19 visits to, for the land use plan, and just wanted to thank you again publicly, you and Chad, for putting in the time, right, to come out to all those meetings and providing input and feedback, and all that's, coming to a conclusion here soon, but just really wanted to express my appreciation for you and your team.
It was neat to get out to the villages and the townships. We see some of those folks, but not all of them. So it was good to see them.
Commissioner Davis, any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
So this, I believe it's spotted lanternfly, is that correct?
Yes.
Is there treatment for that?
Right now, no. And to hear Carrie, if you ever have the chance to hear Carrie talk on the subject, she's very passionate and she makes it, you might think, oh, look, how entertaining can that be? But she makes it very interesting. You leave the room knowing exactly what a lanternfly is, what to watch for. Right now, they're in their egg stage and they have several different life cycle looks. So at different stages throughout the year, they look very different. They're a 1-year cycle. So they go from egg this time of year to adult and then they die off. But they lay so many eggs that they're becoming everywhere, so it's a problem.
My understanding is it's not like the ash borer where it will kill the tree, right? They do harm, but they don't kill the tree.
Yeah, they basically suck the sap. So they have these little suckers and Carrie can tell you way more than me, but they will basically stick their little sucker into the tree and suck out sap. They'll cause a lot of damage. And I think the biggest concern is our grapes. Vineyards. So something to be on the lookout for. Again, ODA is recommending see it, kill it, report it. If you can, before, if you're going to kill it, that's fine. Carrie likes to see you put it maybe in a jar so that it can be identified because like I said, she said that she's seen four or so people come in and say, I think this is it, and it wasn't. So if you're unsure, capture it. Have it identified. OSU Extension can help with that. She's got many. There's actually in our building we have little business-sized cards that are handouts that show the different life stages and what they look like. They're actually kind of pretty. People mistake them for moths when they're adults. So
Yeah. So Ani, you have a question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank Nikki and Jonathan, working with the county team on, our farmland preservation agreements. And we're currently in the process of doing an MOU with the Department of Agriculture, which would outline some of the easement issues that might have been preventing some other properties to go forward, and appreciate Tony and Rick for their work on that process too. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
Some more of it, but it'll be in the agreement and then also an MOU with and the board that when it goes into land preservation, you can still get utility easements across or right away in order to be able to develop adjacent.
Pretty good explanation of it.
Nikki, would you add anything? We appreciate your.
no, I guess one thing I did forget to mention with our tree sale, we do give away a white pine seedling every year to 5th graders. The stipulation to that is the teacher has to request it. So if there are 5th grade teachers that hear about this, we've been advertising and doing this for many, many years. If the teacher asks for free trees for their fifth graders, we deliver them to the school, and they typically coincide with Earth Day, Arbor Day, so a fifth grader can take a little tree seedling home. And we've had adults come to us and say, we purchased this, and send us trees from years ago that they planted that are huge now. So something else we offer with our tree sale.
So if I may, on that, the land preservation, right? So we're, we're doing this to make it so that if you want to preserve your land, your neighbor isn't prevented from having their land developed, right? And so we're looking for partnership from you guys in helping us educate the farmers, right? And what they get out of it, and what is still preserved for other people. And so I just wanted to kind of understand where you guys are with all of that whole process. Are you good with what we're doing with the state?
Yeah, so we talked about that yesterday, and you're carrying forward with the MOU. So we will just be said from the beginning, we just need to know how you want us to handle it, because we're basically doing this on behalf of the commissioners as that local sponsor. So we will work through how we need to work through that process.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
Okay.
So today we have with us Holly Mattei and Joshua. We have an update on floodplain regulations.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us here. This is a short presentation, and it is one of two that we will have. It's required public hearings in order to amend our floodplain regulations. The reason we are here today is because the maps within Fairfield County have been changed slightly. There was a study that was done on the upper Scioto watershed, and that changed the maps in the Pickerington area and a slight area in the unincorporated portion of Fairfield County. Every time maps are updated by FEMA, they require you to update your regulations to comply with their most recent model regulations. So even though we have this little tiny portion in the unincorporated area, we're being required to update based on the model. These updates, again, have been in accordance with what ODNR has given us. They actually walked through with Josh and I the model and showed us the differences that are between what we have today and what we are going to have going forward. And they've given us a timeline for doing this. So as I mentioned, we will be having 2 public hearings today and then also on February 27th. The reason we have to do this is if we do not have our regulations in compliance with the model regulations from ODNR, we are at risk of losing our national flood insurance program, which provides reduced rates to individuals on their insurance when they're in the floodplain. So we pretty much want to make sure that we're able to offer those reductions and be able to be prepared for the future when it comes to future flooding. So,
Can I ask a question on that? Do we have any sense in terms of the extent of participation in that program?
well, if anybody has a loan from a bank, they are required, from a bank that's federally insured, they are required to have the insurance.
Only if they're in the floodplain.
Only in the floodplain, yes, the FEMA floodplain,
Right.
correct.
So it's 100%.
Well, not necessarily 100%, because there could be somebody that pays cash for the house.
Ah.
And they don't have to get it. They have the choice at that point in time.
But are there gradations of floodplain? In other words, you're in the floodplain fringe, you're out of the floodplain, and I might even be missing one.
So there's the floodway, which is actually where the water flows. And that's
Okay.
very high standard to do anything within that. You have to do what's called an H&H study if you want to do anything with it in there. So very few things that we see happen within that floodway. Then there's the 100-year floodplain, which is the 1% chance any given year that it would flood. That is the area where we see more construction happening, and that's the area where the flood insurance is required if you get a federally insured loan from a bank. Then outside of that is the 500-year floodplain, which is the one in every 500 years, that you might get a flood. That is not a requirement to get flood insurance. That's just a designated area, but it's just to give people more heads up. And then there's the X zone, which is outside. You're not in anything and you don't have any kind of insurance.
And with these minor changes that we're having this hearing on, some small amount of land that wasn't previously in the floodplain is now determined to be in the floodplain?
No, they actually did studies. So there was already in the floodplain, but they've done more detailed studies to understand what the elevations are and understand where that water is flowing.
Another question if I might, Mr. President. I'm sure I've been through this process before and I'm just not recalling the details. But the one word in the presentation so far that throws me a little bit is the word ordinance.
Oh, yeah, it should be resolution. So you'll see it says ordinance/resolution.
It does, yeah.
And it is because the model regulations that the state gives us apply to both cities and counties.
Okay,
So they give us those.
I understand. Thank you.
We have 2 minutes before public hearing time, which is 9:30. So maybe you give us a little more update on what's going on at regional plan.
Sure. So we are in the process of getting our CDBG program underway for 2024. That letter was just released last week to all the communities. So if anybody has projects that are within the low to moderate income area or apply to limited clientele, which is handicap accessible projects, those sorts of things, they can apply to regional planning through April 12th, I believe is the deadline. We'll also be back in front of you in March, on March 5th. That is a busy day. But we'll be here on March 5th for a CDBG public hearing to talk about that program and the details of that. We are continuing to work with the county on the land use plan, and we anticipate that being in front of the Planning Commission with all the revisions made through since it was there last fall, and being in front of the Regional Planning Commission on March 5th at 6 p.m. at the Fairfield County Workforce Center. Press release probably coming out here soon, and the changes to the plan that have been made will be going up on our website as soon as we get that press release ready. Everything's going to be shut down at one time. So we look forward to hearing that plan. I know that as Commissioner Fix and Nikki talked, there's been a number of meetings about that. Our staff participated in those meetings as well. We're very pleased with the changes that have come out of this meeting. I love the dialogue. I love everything that has happened. So I'm excited about moving this project forward and going on to the next steps.
Well, as I mentioned with Nikki, certainly want to appreciate you and Josh and Safa for coming out to every one of those meetings, right? And a lot, this all comes back to your team. So the amount of work, time, and effort that you and Josh and Safa put into it is deeply, deeply appreciated. I'm excited. We're getting calls from townships and villages on a regular basis now. Hey, let's go. We want to do this and we need help. So we definitely moved the needle, and you guys were a big part of that. So thank you.
Well, you are very welcome. And we're getting calls about, moving on to the zoning stuff and all of that, like every day. So I think that the enthusiasm and the understanding of it all has really picked up.
So it's actually 9:31.
Yeah.
So we're on for a public meeting regarding floodplain regulation changes. So Holly, you again have the floor.
Okay, well, we'll continue on through here. There's just a few slides here. Just to kind of tell you the process that we have gone through with ODNR up to this point, they did hold a webinar with us to explain the changes. And then after the webinar, they had a one-on-one meeting with Josh and me to go through the model regulations and help us to better understand it. There are a few areas where our standards that were in place, that are currently in place, have some higher standards from the model. So they asked us if we wanted to continue those. So we said yes, we could continue those as we currently have them in our regulations today. There are some other areas where higher regulations could be considered, and those conversations can come down further down the road. But today's purpose is to adopt what we have today in addition to any requirements of the model and nothing else at this point in time. This is the process. I'm not going to go through all of it. You'll see that we're halfway through at this point in time. And by the end of the year, these should actually be adopted.
Do we do this every year?
No, that's a good question. So the last time we did this was 2012. And it was when they came through and they remapped the entire county at that point in time. That was a big deal. There were public hearings, public meetings. We were out at Liberty Center. There were map changes because people gave feedback and made appeals. So that was a big thing. This is just a minor.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then these are just this is the last slide. So again, just updating the model. And the two things that I wanted to point out is that we are utilizing our subdivision regulations committee as our appeals board. We have to have an appeals board for this. So we already have an established committee, so why reinvent the wheel? So that's what we chose there. And then the violations and penalties previously just had a dollar value associated with it, and that's been changed to actually reference a 4th degree misdemeanor to follow the Ohio Revised Code.
So,
I have it on here. It's just a small little portion. I'll just show you on there.
Would also like the passcode, please.
So the red lines are the changes?
The red line is the detailed studied, and the green lines are where they did approximate studies. So the red lines, they actually have elevations.
So where are the actual changes?
Right here's the red,
Okay.
and then there's a green line inside.
I got it.
Yeah,
Wow. That's tiny.
it's tiny.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't put the map up there. It's so minor.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
so in accordance to any public hearing, I would need to ask the question, is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of these changes? Please.
I don't have to go there, do I?
I'm sorry, yeah, so they can hear you, Sherry.
If you speak
Well, I have-
loudly,
I have a
if you
question.
speak loudly, you can.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. At the Walnut Township trustees meeting, they presented this little map, little tiny area up by the lake, all the little squares and everything, but they didn't know exactly where it was going to end up. I know we're on the lake, we're in just the township, but we're on the lake and used to be in the floodplain, but then back when they built the spillway, then it flooded back in 1960 something or something like that. But I know it hasn't, our side hasn't flooded in the last 35, 40 years.
So Walnut Township, what they're talking about at their meetings is totally unrelated to this. Walnut Township is asking us to explore some higher standards in our floodplain regulations in and around Buckeye Lake. We have put those discussions on hold because this came up from FEMA and it's a requirement that we have to move forward with this. And I didn't want to confuse the two matters. So I asked Walnut Township if we could hold on that project, get this through, and then we'll reconvene that issue.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that yet until this is done. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody in opposition? Any general questions? This meeting closed.
All right.
Thank you. We'll be back.
In 2 weeks.
And Holly, do you need to make sure everybody signs in?
Yes, that would be great. Do you want me to like pass it around? Okay.
Very good. So moving on to public comment. If you would like to make public comment, please approach the podium, give your name and address, and your time is limited to 3 minutes.
Morning. This is a privilege that I'd like to keep doing for as long as I can. Today, I would like to remark something on what is happening in Congress and the Senate. Some of you may be up to date with it, but not all of you. There is a Ukraine aid bill that the Senate is trying to pass, which is a terrible bill. And you need to call your senators and let them know. There's a list of Republicans that want to join the Democrats in this, and it's wrong. And the bill contains a phrase that if Trump, when he's elected, wants to cut the aid off, they'll impeach him if he does. So this is something that's never been done before. I'd like to comment on the news that you have about electric cars and trucks. Administration is pushing like crazy to get everybody to get electric and be solar powered or wind powered or something like this. When it's all done, it only furnish about 16 to 20% of the needs of this nation. So it's a crazy idea. But the electric cars and trucks are more expensive. They have problems that they have to solve. And you go around the countryside and you'll see lots filled with electric cars because people are not buying them. They don't like them. And one of the things too that's a problem is that they're so much heavier than the gasoline powered vehicles. And as a result, the highways that have put in rails, metal rails in the center of the 4-lane highways, keep traffic from moving from one side into the other lane if they get off the road. Well, these heavy vehicles will just go right through it, and it doesn't make any difference when they get on the other side. They're too heavy. In other words, an electric car is just about a ton heavier on any vehicle of its model. It increases the weight of it. That also causes problems for parking lots and parking garages and also roads.
Ray, you have about 30 seconds, please.
So this is a problem everybody should be aware of and be aware. I know one thing for sure, that in my life, every day I live puts me a day closer to when Jesus is going to return. So my prayer this morning is, Lord, direct these people that are leaders in our county, in our state, in our nation, to tune in to you, Lord, and get the wisdom that you will freely give them. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Who would be next?
Morning. Well, more things about health and COVID. Bill Gates pushes needle-free vaccine. Gates has come up with a new design for vaccines that involves placing a little patch on a person's skin. However, Gates' new vaccines do little to address the health risks associated with COVID RNA shots. Next, Disease X Fear campaign begins. Who is preparing a new pandemic to oppress the world with more tyranny? Now, I hope you would just go to this and there's a website there and view the video. Next, Biden shells out $1.4 million to help transgender people cope with COVID stress. Now, more than $1.4 million in funding that will help transgender people cope with the COVID. The program will end in March of 27. That's 5 years after HHS declared the pandemic was over. There's 360 trans people enrolled in the study that will receive monthly micro grants and for the duration of this. And also, the taxpayer-funded study seeks to advance the science of minority stress and mental health inequities. This is a little sickening to we the people whose tax monies go to paying for this, and it raises many questions about the funds that were granted to our own state and county. Next, tens of thousands of elderly secretly are euthanized to boost the COVID deaths. Yes, the people were being euthanized using a fatal injection, and it was indicating that the virus was killing far more elderly people than it really was. These deaths were falsely blamed on COVID, and the basis of the public's fear campaign was used to justify the lockdowns, the mass mandated injections, and the public funding, or even including children. The widespread and persistent use of this shot suggests a possible policy of systematic euthanasia. Now, it's very, very difficult to understand just how on earth the employees of health department, hospital, and groups overseeing them could have possibly turned their backs to info, as well as many questions that were being raised more than 2.5 years ago. Ray spoke of how all the dumb decisions being made concerning the EVs are doing nothing for the good of America except to spend more money and thus raise taxes, and thus nothing good for the county. And then he related how people see the same dumb thinking concerning our solar panels really devastating, thus nothing good for farming and prevention of hunger. And here with COVID has brought out how elected officials are trying to destroy health, and really the health of our nation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Sherry Clymer, 3464 South Bank Road. Of course, this is about solar, but it's more than that. It's about our electric bills and what's actually happening, not just here, but throughout the country. On February 1st, and I hope that Commissioner Davis has this information, but February 1st, there was a hearing at the State House concerning the energy, and it was between Ohio and Pennsylvania. It was a joint hearing. And if you go on YouTube, some of that testimony is on there. And Isaac Orr, you can Google it or DuckDuckGo it or whatever you do, testifies February 1st, 24 at Ohio, Pennsylvania joint hearing at the State House, and that'll pop up. And it's a very, very informative presentation. It's an excellent presentation. And AEP also testified at that hearing. And there is a great deal of information that I encourage everyone to look at and actually watch that testimony if you can. There could be some articles out there too. I know there's an article on the AEP one and with the actual testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would be next? Well, thank you all for coming. Amy, anything else?
Actually, just a programming note, the Board of Elections was named a lawsuit filed by the mayor of Buckeye Lake. Apparently, there's a recall election currently occurring right now, and it's occurring in Licking County. Our Board of Elections had transferred its voters to Licking County, so there is no election in Fairfield County, but regardless, the mayor, through her attorney, sued the village, Licking County Board of Elections, and Fairfield County Board of Elections, which is why I wasn't in here last week. I was working on the litigation with that. It's very time sensitive. Our brief was due yesterday and it was filed. They have till Wednesday to reply, and the Supreme Court should dispose of it summarily. There's no real liability to the county, but I did want to update you that that was going on.
It's a very small portion, about 9 residents, I
I think it
believe.
was 12.
Well,
Yeah, that's why we just, it was either hold an election for $10,000 because I asked Brett how much it would cost
Yeah.
or transfer our voters to Licking County for the cost of stamps. So
certainly makes sense.
Very good, President, but
Please.
so I know that normally when we receive legal advice from you regarding pending litigation, oftentimes we'll do that in executive session.
Right.
I'm not concerned about that in this situation. What's the point? I mean, what's the objective of the lawsuit?
the objective of the lawsuit is presumably to stop the recall election. I mean, that's really it. It seems like there's a lot of problems between the village and the mayor. It's not, my view of it, I don't believe it'll be successful based on what they're objecting to. They said timelines weren't, that the village charter wasn't complied with. In all their information, it looks like it was. And I think there's a good argument that they waited too long to even bring the lawsuit. And again, I'm only updating you because all this is public record. There's nothing.
No, I get it.
You know, just to be clear, I'm not disclosing any attorney-client privilege at this point. It's, you know, it's essentially all submitted to the Supreme Court. So
No, and I wouldn't care if you did disclose attorney-client privilege information on this. It's just a load of crap.
I don't disagree with you, Commissioner. I think it's a lot of good money thrown after bad, and I feel for the village and I feel for Licking County because they have a bigger stake. And I feel for us because we had to deal with it. But our piece was pretty small, but I did want to let you know that that was a thing. And I just want to thank the different departments. They were very patient with us because I would, you know, still get hit up with questions. And I was like, look, you got to talk to the rest of civil, and they did. And my folks stepped up and pitched in. And I just want to publicly thank them because they were super helpful during this process.
Very good. Thank you. Administration update.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. We have been talking about some perimeter fencing here at the Sheriff's Office, and we did receive some artist renderings for two of the different options that we were exploring. I think Bennett's going to have, there we go. So this first one you're seeing up there is a combination of the black picket fence on top of masonry. Go ahead and go to that, yeah, and then just a full masonry wall there. The cost difference that we've seen, and these are just rough budgeted estimates so far, it's not a huge difference between the two because those center sections there that you're seeing between each of those panels is what drives the majority of the cost there. So for that option we have right there up on the screen right now would be $995,000, and then the one with the black picket fence is $965,000. So again, the piers, the center portions is what drives that cost the most. John, I don't believe the sheriff has had an opportunity to review this yet, has he?
No.
No, so sheriff will be here this afternoon for an executive session and we'll be able to share this with him at that time. He wasn't able to make it this morning, but wanted to circle back to this conversation with the commissioners since we had been exploring this a couple months ago.
Mr. President, John, have you had an opportunity yet to learn within the context of those cost estimates what the back side of the wall, is it also bricked out or is it painted or what's going on there?
Yeah, I did confirm that the full face of the brick is on the inside. So there could be a cost reduction to go to a simpler design on the inside.
Yeah, continue, Mr. President, please. So the other thing I wanted to mention, and I'm not denigrating the rendering at all, it's a wonderful rendering, but if it were a true rendering, many of those vehicles that you see in that parking lot would be actual sheriff's cruisers and cars and their own personal vehicles. And one of the concerns that the sheriff has brought to our attention is that there's been a fair amount of trouble with folks who could just walk right? There would be no wall there. Just walk in and you're vandalizing either one of the actual cruisers or the personal vehicles of our deputies that have been ransacked or stolen from or so forth. And so the sheriff brought to our attention that security concern. For folks that may not have been following along with this discussion, Commissioners Levacy and I, who were kind of there for the jail wars when people were opposed to this location or building a jail at all for that matter, they were, some of the opposition to that process dealt with the fact that putting this jail in, we would put up Constantine wire or whatever it's called and make it look like a prison. It would be horrible. And of course, we didn't do that. But when the conversation of adding any form of fencing came up, we were recalling those conversations and our assurances that we wouldn't be making this appear like a prison. So the structures that are in these renderings are designed to keep our word to the folks that for sure we would not make this look like a prison. In that it may or may not be clear from the renderings, but this is all on the back side of the facility, not on the Lincoln side, not on the Memorial Drive side. It's only on the Wheeling side, and it's only securing the personal and public vehicles and personnel for that matter in that area. I did speak with John today regarding the issue of trespass on public property. This area of the jail is posted for no trespassing. I hear there's maybe one sign and people ignore it and do what they want.
We see everything from delivery drivers taking the shortcut through the parking lot to pedestrian traffic to really anything. Just going through as a cut through from Lincoln to Wheeling. And then there's the bad actors that are throwing nails, that are vandalizing the cars. And what we don't want to see happen is someone with an active threat in that area.
This security concern came up at the same time as concern regarding the transparency of some of the windows at the jail. And what was happening there is some of the, I'll just say friends, I'm not sure that's the right term, of some of the inmates were coming to the windows and putting on a show for the benefit of the inmates. That issue has been resolved, as I understand it, with some additional security measures at the windows.
Yeah, there was a lot of communication happening between incarcerated folks and people outside that ultimately could have led to security threats. And that's not.
So I want to show deference to the opinions and concerns of the sheriff, who is responsible for operating that jail system. And I'll look forward to his input later. At first blush, I would have a preference for the wrought iron topping versus the solid brick. And I'm not, I don't even think I could get over either fence, even if I wanted to. But the on the security front, the solid brick would appear to me to be something that you could pull yourself up on and get right over it. Actually easier than you could get over the wrought iron, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fence jumper.
I also will not be guinea pig for that, but I can tell you, if you're climbing this fence, then you're knowingly.
So I think between the three commissioners, Commissioner Fix would probably be best suited to demonstrate for us which one is.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get to that.
So my question is, my recollection is that there's going to be then a gate.
There's a total of 5 gates.
Okay.
Access control points.
Okay.
In this rendering, those would be the wrought iron design. So, obviously you can't make gate out of bricks. So there'll be a secure wrought iron gate at the what we call the south entrance, 2 at the north, and then there's 2 arm gates that separate the other parking lot Jason Cole.
Is that all included with this quote?
All
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's a big-
access control. There's a significant amount of wiring and utility locations. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of built-in costs that aren't just the brick.
Yeah, Mr. President. So in the 2024 budget, did we accounted for some fencing here or we did not?
2024 budget was a significant amount of that project. Now, there is a little bit more with changes that we made to the aesthetic design, but the majority of that is in 20.
And specifically though, did we assign a number to this project in the 2024 budget? 745, and the low end on the wrought iron one is 965. Is there a 10% contingency in that estimate yet?
Yes, that would be built in, as well as design engineering costs.
And I don't want to fence with you, but you said will be built in. And my question is, in the 965, is the 10 points already in?
We are using the cooperative purchasing, so everything is final number, 10% profit, design engineering, permits, everything.
And then on a contracting basis, as currently envisioned, the risk of overage in the project cost is assigned to the contractor or the client?
Still the client, it's not design build, yeah, so we still have a potential for change orders. I think we have investigated the underground utilities. That would be my worry. It's not in the building of the wall, but the underground utilities. Those would be minor and directional boring and things like that. And we have a contractor in that we trust that is working with this vendor.
Mr. President, if I might. From the word go, let's say, and just for purposes of discussion, let's just say that we talked to the sheriff this afternoon, we continue this discussion for, a week or something. And let's say 2 weeks from now, we say, we're good, let's go with that, whatever that means. Do you have a sense on project timeline if those things were true?
I would anticipate it would be completed in 2024. Yeah, I could think that it would be a 2024 completed project. No, I wouldn't stand on a month though, yeah. I can find out very quickly.
Well, I'm just curious there, and the reason I asked that question is we've just come through a time period in some projects where even getting people on board and rolling on projects has been challenging.
Yeah, that is better now. We are experiencing better lead times, better projects. The only difficulty in the materials here is just, we want to make sure we find the exact same brick that matches the jail.
Very close.
Or as close as we can certainly be possible.
All right, well, I'll just conclude by saying I am in favor of a solution to the security concern, and we'll look forward to the sheriff's input later in the day. You have a sense of the height on that?
Total height was 6 foot, the piers were 8.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, moving on. Fairfield County will be hosting the Central District CCAO and CEAO regional meeting on May 3rd at the Workforce Center, and all 3 commissioners will be speaking there. Commissioner Fix speaking to the land use planning process and the need for housing. Commissioner Davis expanding transit to meet workforce challenges, and then Commissioner Levesey speaking in regards to the Workforce Center and the training programs that we have there. And folks will be able to take a tour of the Workforce Center. So this will include commissioners and county engineers from the CCAO regional district. And thanks to Commissioner Fix for offering to host this. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, so thank you, Oni, for doing all the heavy lifting on this. The CCAO, County Commission Association, Ohio, is broken up into 5 different regions. We added the central region 4 years ago. And twice a year, the county commissioners and county engineers get together in one county or another. This is our turn to host. I'm excited about telling our story. We talk all the time about how Fairfield County's setting trends and, showing an example to the rest of the state. And this is really a great chance for us to show that. So appreciate all the work that's going into it.
Okay, thank you.
So Rick, May 3rd, is that a good day to have anything going on there? Any kids there then?
Fridays are pretty light. Run away from where
All right, so past few meetings, we have been talking about appointing a board member to the airport authority there. And there is a resolution on today's voting agenda to approve the appointment of John Smith. We interviewed Mr. Smith on January 23rd. We had two great candidates, in addition, Craig Babbert there. And Bennett did reach out to Mr. Babbert and encourage him to attend the airport authority board meetings, and that if another vacancy did arise in the future, he would definitely be first on that list. So that is on for your consideration today. Also have a memo in the review packet regarding the 211 day celebration. So February 11th, 211 is the annual observance that highlights 211 services that connect people in our community with resources that they need. 211 is essentially a bridge for folks who need services in the agency that can help. Our local executive director, Jeanette Curtis, has offered, invited the commissioners to come see what they do there, specifically at 211. I'll be reaching out to Jeanette to schedule a time to visit. Commissioners are welcome to join in on that if that was something they would like to do as well. Highlights of resolutions. The review packet does contain a list of administrative approvals. And for the voting meeting today, there are 15 resolutions. Some resolutions of a note. There is the resolution to appoint John Smith that I just spoke about. Also a resolution authorizing the approval of a service agreement between Juvenile Court and Connection West. This was one that we had to postpone from last week's meeting. We have 3 resolutions authorizing the extension of repayment of advances. And then we have 2 resolutions speaking to the purchase of an agricultural easement through Clean Ohio. And then also another one with the First Amendment to the 2023 Cooperative Agreement for Funding Allocation on the Agricultural Easement Purchase Program. Apologize, I'm struggling a little bit with my throat today. Bart, any budget review?
No, it's this week.
Thank you. Rochelle, calendar review and invitations received, please.
On Thursday, the Lancaster State of the City address is at 8 a.m. at the Crossroads Center, and the Lancaster-Fairfield Community Action Agency Board of Directors meeting is at 11:30 a.m. at the Recycling Center. The Family and Children First Executive Committee meeting is February 16th at 8:30 a.m. at the Ag Center. United Way of Fairfield County Annual Meeting and Awards Banquet is February 28th at 8 a.m. at the Olivedale Senior Center. The Strings for Spring second annual gala for the Wagnalls Memorial is March 2nd at 7 p.m. The State of Pickerington is March 7th at 11 a.m. at the Wigwam Event Center. This is for the City of Pickerington, Violet Township, and Pickerington School District. The CCAO and CEAO Central Region meeting will be May 3rd at 8:30 at the Fairfield County Workforce Center, and an invitation was received from Fairfield County 211 to visit their office. Fairfield County 211 also sent their 2023 year-end report. We received an expedited Type 2 annexation that was filed for 9.138 acres from Walnut Township into the village of Millersport. There were a few minor items that the petitioner was notified would need to be corrected prior to a resolution approving that annexation. The Moody's annual investor report on Fairfield County was received. A letter of resignation from Fairfield County Law Library Board member Michael Kreitz. Letters from residents regarding industrial solar projects, an excerpt from a CCAO newsletter regarding Commissioner Davis's testimony to the Indigent Defense Task Force, a press release from the Lancaster Festival titled Lancaster Festival Drives $12.5 million Impact for State, 9.9 for Fairfield County. The county auditor provided the wins of the week, a memo regarding communication about adjustments for the city of Lancaster, CAAO conference hosted in Fairfield County, current agricultural use valuation program deadline, and the IRS W-4 form. The auditor also provided 2 press releases on February 9th, one titled Homestead Program Participants will be receiving a letter. A response is needed only if there are changes. And Fairfield County Auditor highlights tax adjustments to be reflected in June 2024 mailing. And there was a newsletter received from Visit Fairfield County, and that's all we have.
Thank you, Rochelle. That's all I have, Commissioner.
Very good. So under old business, Commissioner Fix,
I have none.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the Indigent Defense Task Force. As was mentioned there, I did make a presentation to the task force that I'm a member of this past week. Also, a county commissioner from Allen County made a presentation to that same task force. It was a tale of two counties, and it was good for the task force to hear that. Allen County 10 years ago spent about $600,000 on indigent defense. And then more recently in 2023, they spent approximately $1.6 million. So over that 10-year period, their costs went up by $1 million. They have a population of about 102,000. Their point, Allen County's point to the task force is they would very much want a state takeover of that obligation and that delivery system. They want to out from under it, so to speak. That was Allen County's story, so to speak. And I'm not denigrating that. They're in a different situation than we are, which is 10 years ago, we spent approximately $1.84 million for a population of, say, 160,000. And then in 2023, 10 years later, we spent $1.72 million. So over the 10-year period, we've had less than a 0% increase in the cost of delivering that service. One of the things I did in that presentation was advise, educate that task force on all the measures and ways that we have effectively controlled those costs, and all the reasons why we do not need a state takeover of our delivery model. And that's why I call it a tale of two counties. And it really is representative of the 88 in the sense that there are counties whose systems of delivery are failing and who need state help. And there are counties whose systems are operating beautifully, who would not benefit from a state takeover. And the bottom line from the County Commissioners Association and from both Allen County's commissioner and myself is, if the state wants to help broken systems, fine, go help them. Just don't break our system and cause us then to have to pay to subsidize the broken systems. That's what we're trying to avoid here. So I think it was a good day. I still feel like we're probably outnumbered on that particular task force, but I'll leave just a little ray of hope that we move the needle a little bit on that issue of not breaking systems that are functioning perfectly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks for doing that extra duty, if you will. And
Could I do one more old
you
business?
most certainly can.
Yeah, so this past weekend, had the opportunity to share an evening with Big Brothers Big Sisters at their comedy night. The first comedian was not good. No, I'm teasing. I think I'm funnier. But the second guy was a rock star. And it was just it was a fun evening. I really enjoyed it. I know there are folks here with us today that also got the opportunity to enjoy that evening, but huge fan of Big Brothers Big Sisters and what they try to do for what they call the littles that really could use a mentor and someone to kind of help them navigate the situations in their own lives. So thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Under new business, earlier we had a presentation award actually for public transit, and Carrie Woody was not here, but she is now. Is there anything you'd like to add, and especially with your new position with the city? I understand you're doing a terrific job, by the way.
Well,
And I will say, since my title is Service Safety Director, the fact that our public transit is getting a safety award and being recognized for their outstanding safety. So, huge thanks to Chaplain Carter and all she's done in public transit to keep our drivers and our passengers safe.
Well, thanks for being here and look forward to your cooperation and the city's cooperation in the transfer of transit. Thank you.
So wonderful things ahead.
Treasurer Bonson,
Mr. President,
please.
I had a couple items under new business. First, I wanted to touch on electric vehicles for a minute. That was mentioned earlier. I've had the experience of driving one now, an electric vehicle, for approximately 56,000 miles. And for me, in my situation, it works. I have a garage bay dedicated to different levels of charging. I don't use that vehicle to go long distances. So for me, in my personal situation, it's been a good experience. But what I would also say is the infrastructure does not exist for the push for everybody to drive an electric car. It's a cart before the horse problem. I'm not sure the horse should ever get there. It's just not just here, but anywhere. The infrastructure is not there. Your ability to travel long distances is nearly non-existent. And you think about the tremendous number of people who, say, for example, might live in apartment complexes or not in garages, or they're just the top to bottom, the infrastructure is not there. And I concur in some of the remarks made earlier regarding that. The other thing I wanted to mention is I did receive a note from Ms. Palmer regarding the testimony of Isaac Hoare on the issue of grid reliability. And I did have an opportunity to review that testimony, and I found it to be incredibly informative. There's a huge difference between adding power supply and subtracting power supply. And to the extent that there's this push to subtract from the power supply by the elimination of different reliable energy supply, that's going to drive the price of electricity tremendously. And I don't think I needed Isaac Hoare's testimony to teach me that, because I've been watching what's happening in California. But I thought that was really an informative piece of work there. And if anybody else would like to review that testimony, I can send you the link on that. And I thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Fix, any new business? Yes, sir. Thank you. Great. Going back to Treasurer Bonson.
Mr. President, this is a busy week for the Treasurer's Office with the due date for first half taxes this Thursday, February 15th. So it's been busy both here in the building and also through our drive-through down on Chestnut Street. So if anybody has any questions or concerns, please get a hold of our office. Be more than glad to help you. Thank you.
So your drive-through at Chestnut, is that being utilized a lot?
We got one call from an individual who said they had to wait in line for about 15 minutes to get through, and we should do something about that. Well, I'm sorry, but do this twice a year, and it's a convenience that we find more and more people are using it, especially since we've offered the option now of paying in cash. Before it was only by check, so a lot of people are utilizing it. So other than that, it's busy down there, definitely is.
So if you only got one complaint and that was it?
Well, we're concerned about any complaint.
No, I understand.
No, you're right. One complaint, and we thank the taxpayer for their input.
Yeah, so more importantly, it's being utilized and it's making it convenient because it's difficult to come up here sometimes and park.
Especially now, since I'm not too sure if all the spots out front are open again, but
They're not,
that causes
they're not.
issues.
So I'm sure that's more than helping to. Good. Lisa, very good. Dr. Brown.
No, we're considering all ways that we can communicate about the second half tax bill adjustment, and have already begun that process and looking forward to learning more about that. In other words, we're thinking about how we can communicate with mortgage companies as well. While it might not be as important this time, it will be important in 25 and 26 as we think about the sexennial update. So that's a stakeholder group that we haven't had on our radar as much, and so we're including that on our radar as we think about future communication plans. With respect to that specific adjustment, I will say that I'm very respectful of the city and appreciate all the communications we've had with the city auditor and the treasurer, and they hadn't yet budgeted for that because it was a consistent error relating to the amended certificate. We will issue another amended certificate in March so that if they change their mind and they want to approach that in a different way, they'll be able to do that in March. By far, the vast majority of questions we're getting right now relate to homestead. Getting a lot of questions about homestead in terms of requirements of the income threshold. So we're working through that. Probably 8 of 10 questions we get right now relate to that. Seniors want to be able to stay in their home, and we want that too. And we do think that there could be proposed legislation to help with that. And from an association perspective, we may introduce our own process to be able to maybe move that forward a little bit more. In addition, there have been some questions about tax exempt property, and there's look back on that. And that's the most common question. Some folks try to be proactive and issue the application for tax exemption, and others have not, and fear not, there is a look back process for that. Thinking about some in-services we had recently, we had one for Missing in America, and I just want to report out on that particular program because it was fascinating. This is a nonprofit group that at no cost will help unite the remains of veterans that are unidentified with their families. And through this in-service, we were actually able to connect some folks just with our small group. And we did pass that information on to Veteran Services. And if anyone else here wants more information about that, we have contact with the City of Reynoldsburg Finance Director who volunteers for that. There's a question that came up at the MCJDC meeting relating to interest. Interest is credited to the county general fund by code, and there are exceptions for that. Park District is one exception, library funds are another exception, and federal funds, grants are another exception. There's a code section that relates to that, and that has been in place since about 1989 as far as our process. In terms of anything specific to MCJDC, if there was a section of the code that related to that, we would follow that. But that is just the way that interest is credited on a regular basis.
Can I ask a question on that, Auditor Brown? Thank you for touching on that. At the Friday meeting of the Multi-County Juvenile Detention Center boards, they have a substantial cash position right now. And I understand everything you just said, but to put a finer point on it, are we making a choice by retaining that interest, or is that just the law?
In section, I think it's 135351, and it specifically says interest is to be credited to the county general fund except for, and then it gives 2 exceptions. There are federal funds, though by contract, we agree to do certain things. So that's why I paused for a moment, because I don't know that MCJDC has any federal funds that relate to that.
I do not believe they do, and I just want to be clear in our communications as a member of MCJDC. If I were to report back to them that that's codified and we're simply following the code, would that be an accurate reporting back to them on that
I
question?
think that's accurate, but I would add something to that. There is a contract between the members. So by contract, there could be agreement to do things based upon certain amounts that are calculated. For example, we have a contract that's based upon what we understand our cost and our expenses are. there could be credit given or a thought given to whatever that is based upon that contract. That wouldn't necessarily be the same thing as the credit of interest. I just wanted to be clear in the response.
And I appreciate that. And one of the things that I thought about as that question was being discussed at MCJDC is if you walk that dog across multiple agencies, the difficulty and challenges for ascertaining the values that should be assigned to multiple different funds that are pouring into that all funds balance. I'm sure there's some computer or something that can sort that out, but there's no human that could.
I checked Licking, Hawking, and Perry, no disclosure. They do the same thing we do from their perspective. Someone mentioned a statewide CAAO conference that was held at the Wigwam this past week. We had more than 100 in attendance. It was very well received, and people were very excited to be in Fairfield County as well. Midway County, I know you are in touch with Brad Washburn on occasion. And he was very appreciative of support and help we provided to him, as was the Athens County auditor. From a GIS perspective, I just wanted to mention that we have several different special projects going on, and we will maintain the special project for the sheriff for law enforcement. But because the requests are coming in fairly regularly, we're going to have a request form for special projects. So you're hearing it here first. We haven't yet decided what that will be, but we will have a request form for special projects so that we can prioritize. And we'll announce that relatively soon, probably this year, about how those requests will come for GIS projects. And then finally, because you do hear things here first more than other places, we have the street level imagery that is basically the pictures of everybody's houses from the street level that will be placed on our website when we make updates for the sexennial process. We have a lot of stakeholders who've been waiting on this, are very excited about it, but we'll prepare a fact sheet about how we come up with the images and when they will be updated.
How do we come up with the images?
We do them through a third party as we are out doing our reappraisal. And we're going to just capture that data at the same time and put it on our website.
And is it something similar to what I would see if I went into Google?
Google Maps.
Yeah,
Very similar.
thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Brown. There has to be something exciting going on in utilities. Come on.
I'm taking it for next week when I get to
Yes,
get you an update.
Okay, all right. I don't want to spoil that one.
Yeah, we
You're up.
How do you follow that, Rick?
So we have 90 students, high school seniors that are taking classes at the Workforce Center right now. And 20 of them are in phlebotomy, so they're not getting jobs. So out of the 70, more than 60 of those students have been placed with employers. So the phlebotomy ones they do full program and then they go with jobs.
And we've had the opportunity to hire some, right, Tony?
had to.
We just hired Bryce, who is a former apprentice. He's just joined the facilities.
And Tony has gone above and beyond because not only has he helped place, hired 2 low water wastewater ones, he's helped place the other ones with other utility organizations. So I really appreciate that, as does our team.
So with phlebotomy, are you seeing those who have a large interest in the nursing programs?
Yeah, a lot of them are going to go into nursing, and this is just a skill that they know they're going to need to get, so they want to do this at the time. Others are doing this so they can get hired by a hospital, and then that hospital can pay for the nurse.
And so I understand OU will have a 4-year nursing program, that's correct. And then how about Hockey College? Have there any discussion about a 2-year program?
So we met with Fairfield Medical Center a couple weeks ago. We've got another meeting in 2 weeks where we're determining what are the next needs for healthcare. So radiology technicians are one of the, that's probably going to be one of the next ones because you can get a short-term certificate, get hired, on board and continue to get your associate's degree. So we're meeting with William Union College and FMC to determine what are the best programs. Just like anything.
Thank you for all your good work. Don,
We're about a quarter of the way up on top of the building here, so we're getting there. It's slow to start, but we're working quickly up there. You have 3 bid openings in the next 3 consecutive weeks, culminating in Rick's OU engineering. So a lot of capital projects coming out right now. Emergency management, we're really hoping that we'll see the new Marks Tower come online here in the next couple weeks. The final pieces are being installed.
that's the one on Waterworks Hill.
That's on Waterworks Hill.
That's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming, and I'm sure we'll see some increased service, and people will be very happy to see that happen.
I think just piggyback on that, there were 2 finalists for the OU L Dean position that came, and I got to meet with last week at the Workforce Center and give them a tour, and both were amazed. And I shared with them some of the engineering tech drawings and things, and they were so excited to see that we're investing in that. They both of them even more excited about this opportunity.
Good. You hope whoever it is, they have a good working relationship with Fairfield County.
Sure we will.
Dan, anything to? No.
Very suspenseful.
Everything must be fine, no complaints or anything, so. Corey.
I'll just update that you've heard me talk for a long time about the Medicaid unwinding project, or return to normal, as it were. And that's a year-long project, and we have 1 month to go. So we're excited and see the light at the end of the tunnel there. Also very proud of the staff that has maintained 100% rate of during those redeterminations each month. So, which is well above the 90% that the state required. So, light at the end of the tunnel there.
Taking a while, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Amazing. So, rise if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Michelle, any announcements?
I have 2 announcements. Next week, on Monday, February 19th, is President's Day, and Fairfield County offices will be closed in observance of that day. Also, there are 2 resolutions that need adjustments. Oftentimes, we are putting these in, departments are putting them in so quickly, and we'll catch things. So there's 2 that I will announce as we get to them.
So approval of minutes for February 6th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Minutes passed 3-0. From the Commissioners, Resolution 2024-2.13.a, a resolution approving the appointment of Mr. John S. Smith to the Fairfield County Airport Authority Board.
Commissioners, I move items A, B, and C.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Fairfield County Economic and Workforce Development. This resolution stated that they need an extension of the repayment date in their whereas of 2/15. We are going to correct that to 5/15/24. The now therefore section is correct. It does state that the extension repaid date would be 5/15/24. So it is Resolution 2024-2.13.d, a resolution authorizing the approval to extend the repayment date of Advance of Fund 2881 EV Charging Station Fund.
Move to adopt as corrected.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From the Fairfield County Engineer, Resolution 2024-2.13.e, A resolution to request for appropriations for additional unanticipated receipts of memo receipts and memo expenses for Fund 3445 BLO 36 street replacement.
Fairfield County Engineer, move items E, F, and G.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Fairfield County Family and Children First Council does not have a resolution. Resolution H is actually under Job and Family Services. So Resolution 2024-2.13.H from Jobs and Family Services, a resolution authorizing the approval to extend the repayment date of an advance of funds, Fund 2072, Public Children's Services, Subfund 8182, EPIC Grant.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Also under Job and Family Services, Resolution 2024-2.13.I, a resolution to approve a memo expense memo receipt for the cost of birth certificates paid to Fairfield County Health Departments as a memo expenditure for Fund 2072 Public Children's Services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. For Fairfield County Juvenile Probate Court, Resolution 2024-2.13.J, a resolution authorizing the approval of a service contract by Fairfield County Juvenile Court and Connection West.
For Fairfield County Juvenile Probate Court, I move items J and K.
Second.
Discussion.
How long is this lease for with Connection West? Or is this just a service?
It's just a service contract.
Thank you.
This is utilizing the remainder of the ARP funds that we had for the school attendance project.
Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Sheriff, Resolution 2024-2.13.L, a resolution authorizing the approval to extend the repayment date of an advance of funds, Fund 2593 concealed handgun.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Soil and Water Conservation District, Resolution 2024-2.13.M, a resolution to sign the assignment of payment escrow agreement for the Tool Farm through the Clean Ohio Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Program with the Ohio Department of Agriculture.
Fairfield County Soil and Water Conservation, I move items M and N.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Payment of bills, Resolution 2024-2.13.O, a resolution authorizing approval of payment of invoices for departments that need Board of Commissioners approval.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. The next regular meeting is scheduled for February 20th at 9 a.m.
So is there any additional item to come before the Board of Commissioners at this time?
Are we adjourning now or adjourning later?
Adjourning now.
I have a question that.
Should we adjourn now and come back and start a new meeting for executive session, or should we go into recess now until executive session at 2:00 today?
Okay.
I think so, because I don't know the posting publication process that would have been gone through for the 2:00 if we were to adjourn and come back.
So I think that makes sense. So we will be adjourned
No, we'll be in recess.
at dawn.
All right, it's all cleared up.
I'll get it right here in just a moment. We will be in recess till 2:00. We will reconvene and then after that go into executive session. So we are in recess.
So the clerk is asking a question there as to whether we should make the motion now to go into executive session at 2:00 and call the roll for that, or whether we just do that when we come back at 2 o'clock.
I do when we come back.
All right, I just want to make sure we're doing this right.